Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Study, Work Abroad, Campus to Career. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and my name is Rashmi Singh. I'm a French language teacher with Sherwood Convent School. A very warm welcome to all and a wonderful Sunday. I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all present here. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please share with us on the feedback form. We have prepared all the questions relevant for today's topic, which will cover all your queries. To keep the quality of sound functional during the meeting, please mute yourself. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our speakers. And we would like to welcome our very, very loved alumni, Ms. DEBIKA MITRA. She's a product manager with ABBOTT USA. Mr. MAYANK GOEL, senior product manager at Apple Seattle, USA. Mr. SOHAM SHIVA, he's pursuing his PhD at Stanford University, California, USA. I would ask our presenters to introduce themselves. We will start with a lady. DEBIKA, over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm DEBIKA MITRA. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very honored to be here. I was at Sherwood from second grade all the way to graduating 12th grade. I want to say I left in 2007, if memory serves me correctly. Happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, DEBIKA. We go on to Mr. Mayank now.
Yeah, I got it. Can you hear me? Wow, great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I'm so glad to see Principal Ma'am there on the video. And DEBIKA too. So she was like my role model when I was at Sherwood. So very excited to be here. And I was at Sherwood for my entire schooling, from nursery till class 12. So I was there for 15 years, and I graduated in 2011. Yeah, and currently I'm in Seattle, based in the US, and I'm a product manager at Apple. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer, if I can, any questions that you may have. Super excited. Thank you.
Thank you. We go over to Mr. Soham Shiva.
Hi, thank you for having me. I was at Sherwood for 3 years, from grades 4 to 6. I think I left in 2003, so it's been a while. At the moment, I'm a grad student at Stanford. Because of COVID, I'm in India right now, but I'll probably be heading back in the fall.
Thank you so much for introducing, and I feel so overwhelmed to see our Sherwoodians doing so well, and so is Principal Ma'am. So now, without any delay, I will give this is my immense pleasure to now request our coach, mentor, guide, visionary, our beloved Principal Ma'am, to inaugurate and set the context on this unique platform for Sherwoodians. Please, ma'am.
Yeah, so finally I got my turn. Good evening, DEBIKA and Mayank. I've been really waiting to have a word with all of you. It's really so nice to see you all. And good morning, Soham, and all the students who have joined us. I'm really delighted. It's a great thing that we have done today to be face-to-face with all of you and hear you speak and share your experiences and your journey from school to work, where you stand today. I mean, it's a great achievement. Seriously, I'm so overwhelmed. We've been getting such eager response from all our students, from the alumni of Sherwood. I have no words. I mean, I'm feeling so happy today. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you all, because though I did have the opportunity to meet Mayank, DEBIKA also came back to India. Soham came to school to meet me once. Congratulations, all of you, on your success. So welcome for this session today. Now, I won't want to hold on to this meeting right now. We'll again have a word later. I'll let Rashmi ma'am take over, continue, because she is the moderator for the meeting today. And all the best, everyone, for a good session.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving your valuable insight. Now we are entering into the insightful and interactive session on study and career abroad. So it is, I will not call it a question and answer session. It is more of a conversation. And I will myself as a moderator like to know a lot from our students, as I'm also a mother of a 20-year-old daughter. So here, first, Devika, I'm more interested to ask you that if one has to do this, that how did you thought of studying abroad came in your mind, okay, after you finished your schooling, and how did you decide to get into the field of research?
Okay, great. So mine was planned a long time before it actually happened. My mom's sister and her husband lived in the US for a long time. And apparently when I was 4 years old, they asked my parents if they'd like to move to the US. So they applied for a green card, but green cards sometimes take a really long time to go through. So 14 years later, it went through. So I was 18 years old, thinking of where I'm going to go in India for college when I was told, oh, we just got a green card. We forgot to tell you that we applied for it because it took so long, we never thought it would come through. So mine was in some ways already planned for me. When I first heard about it, I was really mad at my parents and didn't talk to them for a few days because, you know, you think of school, and then you think of college, you have plans. And then those plans were changed, but I'm just ever so grateful that they did do that. They moved here with me so they could support me, and I'm just really grateful to my parents. In terms of getting into research, I went to Georgia Institute of Technology, also known as Georgia Tech. It's one of the top engineering schools in the US. In addition to being an engineering school, it's a really large research school. There's a lot of initiative and resources for undergraduate research. In my field of study, biomedical engineering, over 50% of my classmates pursued undergraduate research. That means your principal investigator, some professor in school takes you on in their lab. You get to have your own research project. You present your work at different conferences. You get to travel for those. So I was really exposed during undergraduate, and that's why I went to graduate school and further pursued research. Happy to answer any more.
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very, very insightful answer. One more thing I would like to ask, that when students take biology as subject, they usually think of going in medicine field. But can you suggest something else, some other course that is available?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved biology. It was always one of my favorite subjects, but I really didn't like needles. I still don't like needles. And it was that simple. I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. So with biology, you can go into biotechnology. You can go into biomedical engineering as long as you still like math. You do need to like math to go into engineering, or at least be good at it, even if you don't like it very much. Honestly, with biology in high school, there are a lot of science majors that you can study. In India, I think after 10th grade, if I remember correctly, you had to choose your stream, PCB, PCMB. It's not as restrictive here. When students go through it here, you can study a lot of different things in high school, but you can still pursue other majors when you go to college. So I had no problem not going into medical school. I had pretty much all the majors open to me.
Thank you so much. Very, very inspiring answer for our students. I would like to carry forward to our next speaker, Mr. Mayank. Mr. Mayank, over to you. What skills would you suggest the students can work upon, apart from the academics, to get selected in universities abroad?
Okay, I was going to say academics, but you took it away. So I studied abroad in three different ways. I first during my undergrad I did research in German university called TU Ilmenau. So that was fully sponsored by DART scholarships. So that's one way you can study abroad without going for a master's or undergrad. And to apply for such scholarships, there are like a lot of skills required, but most important of it is like having a pretty high CGPA. Now that doesn't sound like, it's like we have all seen Three Idiots. So don't want to say like you have to like ram all books, but CGPA is really important whenever you're trying to apply for any scholarships or going abroad. So that's number one thing. Number two thing that I find very important is to work very closely with some professors in your undergrad, or so that you have some strong letter of recommendations. Without strong letter of recommendations, it's kind of hard to build a complete package for you to apply. So that's not really a skill, but that's like something you have to keep in mind. Other skills that you need to develop is I think soft skills. So I gave you one example of me applying for foreign scholarship, but in another instance, I went to London Business School to pursue masters in management. In that, when you're applying for any management related courses outside, that's a completely different ball game. You have to write like very long essays on a variety of topics, and that doesn't relate to your field of study necessarily. They might, and then you also have to go through an interview to go into any business school abroad. So you have to develop really good soft skills, really good communication skills, and a very strong awareness of what is happening around the world. So like you should be on top of current affairs, especially business news and what's happening in the economics, what's happening in finance, so things like that. So just be aware, read news every day. And then again, my final and my third way of how I pursued education abroad was at University of Washington in States, which I recently actually completed. For coming to MS in US, the skills that you need are again pretty on the similar lines. Like you need a good GPA, you have to work on your letter of recommendations. But another thing that becomes important when you're applying for MS is like statement of purpose. So you also have to, while you're studying, think about why do you want to really go abroad? Why is it that this MS is so important for you? So you'll have to write all that and justify it to the university in order for university to consider you. So have clarity in thought of why you want to do it. What is it that you want? And that would also help you. So yeah, I don't necessarily answer the skills part, but these are all the things that you would need. In terms of skills, it's mostly academics, but yeah, just focus on like building a complete package, and that should get you through.
I was looking at the universities that are leading the field at the moment, and overwhelmingly most of those schools were in the US. And the second reason was adequate funding, so I didn't have to pay out of my pocket for 5 years of a PhD. That's a very unwise thing for anyone to do. So the US schools were quite well funded. My program is quite well funded. So the two of those things together made it pretty obvious that North America is the place to look. So I applied to American and Canadian schools, and I did.
Thank you. And one more question immediately after this, which I'm very eager to ask, that how academic culture abroad is different from India?
Well, there's a lot there that can easily occupy us for the next hour. So I'll just focus on two things. One is something that Devika already mentioned, but it's worth amplifying a little more. So right from the undergraduate level, and of course, right up to the graduate level, there's a lot of explicit focus on research. And overwhelmingly, the way a student is evaluated at the end of the semester is, it would be based on a research paper or a research project that they worked on with a professor one-on-one closely. In contrast, what we find here is this, I think, over-dependence on examinations as the primary mode of testing students at the end of the semester. So when I was in Delhi University, for instance, even before the exam, we would already know what we're going to be asked because they were just asking us the same things for the last 10 years. So that sort of a thing really encourages cramming and rote learning and not really thinking for yourself and engaging with your subject. So that's one major departure from how things are done here. So the movement away from examinations and the movement towards research is a very happy direction to try and take. The other thing is, I found this quite liberating just because of the way I work.
Thank you. Thank you. We value your opinion here. And coming to a little, let's take it to the flashback a little bit, where I give a question to the panel. Any three of you, I will love if all three of you can answer this. And a question for you is, if you go back in time, would you like to attend the school again?
Yeah. Are you asking like going back to Sherwood?
Oh, no, you say you want to go back to Sherwood.
I couldn't tell if you're asking, like, do you want to go back to college or do you want to go to?
Well, I'm talking about school. Yeah, Sherwood. I have to be specific. I'm sorry. Yes. If you get a time, would you like to go back and attend Sherwood again?
Absolutely. Maybe with a different hairstyle, but yes. Yeah, not even a question. There was, my formative years were in Sherwood, really. It prepared me to be the strong person that I went into for college. SOHAM had a couple really good points about differences in culture, but I'm kind of glad that for up to 12th grade, I was in the culture that I was in, because it taught me certain really important characteristics and traits. Discipline, for one, right? Growing up, whether it's your parents disciplining you or your teachers, it's almost a negative connotation. Discipline it could be a negative connotation where someone's trying to take away your freedom. However, several years later, when I think back, discipline is one of those really important traits that helps you in life in every way, right? It will take you far. And I feel like Sherwood helped me be really disciplined, and also helped me help me have perseverance. Things go wrong, you fall, you get a bad grade, something doesn't work out as you have planned, but if you keep trying, you can get to your goal. And I always had teachers who backed me up, who had the confidence in me to push me to try to achieve my goals. So yeah, I would go back to Sherwood in a heartbeat.
Okay. Followed by Mayank. Mayank, yes, I can see the smile on your face. Yes.
Well, exactly the same like Debika. I'll pick it up in a heartbeat. So, like it's the most permanent place in my life. So I was there for 15 years, and my home address changes every couple of years. So I've never been to like one place so many times, and I miss all my teachers. Like, I know all my teachers. I keep following them on Facebook, and I'm all try to be in touch with most of them. So it's very close to me, and it's not just me. Like my brother went to Sherwood, and I was like, there was just so many memories I've got. Like there were like so many events that I would just try to participate in. I was the head boy, so it gave me a lot. Like, yeah. So it's a very simple question. Yeah, I would just go.
Good. And what about you, Soham? I know you were with us for some years, but you had done your schooling from some other school. So I just want to have insight on that how a graduate or how a working person thinks. Like if I am asked, yes, I would love to go back to my school. I still try enjoying and going back, whether I'm caught up with my work for the alumni meets that I have in my school, and connect with my old teachers, connect with my friends, my classmates at that time, and it gives me immense pleasure. I come back recharged for one more year. So I want to ask you, Soham, how do you?
I did the humanities, but over the years, I think I've come to appreciate the value and role of humanities much more, especially at the school level. So when I do come back in time, I hope to persuade you to start more humanities classes.
Very nice.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
While we wait, I actually wanted to add something about GPA. I think it was brought up earlier how you have to have a pretty strong GPA. One thing that I learned that works in your favor when you come from India, we take a lot more hours of schooling than kids here need to before they can go to college. So with your GPA, what matters are your grades, but also what's calculated in are your number of hours of classes you have taken. And because coming from India, I had a really high number of classes that I had taken up until that time. My GPA on a scale of 4.0 was higher than 4.
Great.
So that's actually a really positive thing coming from India that I realized after moving here. And I don't know how things work now. It's been so long for me, but when I came, I couldn't calculate my GPA myself. There might be online tools now to do it, but I had to go through a certified agency that takes in all of your classes that you've taken in your grades and calculates it for you. And that's what you submit as your GPA to a college that you're trying to get into. So I just wanted to add that I think Indian students have an up there compared to people coming from here.
And as much as we can get for our students from, and they can benefit from whatever you tell them today, we will like to take it. So Devika, one more thing that I would like to ask. Any major challenge you faced during your academic journey abroad? I mean, what are the common, there are some common misconceptions people have about overseas education. So I want to ask you this question.
I'm not sure about the misconceptions. If you have any, I'm happy to answer if that's true or not. In terms of challenges, I'll mention one funny one and then one serious one. The funny one was, you don't notice this when you're in India because almost everybody does it, but we mispronounce our V's and W's. So you really start noticing it when you come here because nobody else does it here. And at first I didn't care, but then I started feeling really conscious about it. So it was kind of challenging for me to overcome that. But I told my close friends, this is something Indian people do, and they got really strict with me. Every time I mispronounced a V for a W or vice versa, they would fix it, which was annoying at first. But you know, down the line, I'm happy I fixed it because it sounds really weird here when not everyone's doing it. So that's a funny one, I would say. That was an early challenge. Another challenge was grammar rules. My mom was an English teacher at Sherwood, so I grew up with very strict grammar rules, and I thought I was good with grammar. But stylistically, writing, there are different grammar rules here that you don't necessarily know. So if you're taking an English literature class early on in college, you have a lot of papers you put in. And I had to quickly learn some of those differences in grammar and stylistic changes. So I would say that was a challenge, even though I thought my English was fine.
Thank you for answering. Now I'll move to a question where, okay, fine, academics have been taken care, but when it comes to the financial part, students look forward for financial aid or scholarship programs. So I would like to ask you, Soham, here, that can you throw some light on financial aid and scholarship which can help in overseas education?
Yeah, sure. So this depends on many things. It depends firstly on the level you're applying at. So the way financial aid works at the undergraduate level is very, very different from how it works for a master's or a PhD. And again, then it differs from country to country. So like Mayank was saying, for Germany, it tends to be centralized through the German government. For the US, on the other hand, there is no such thing for the most part. I mean, usually colleges fund or universities fund their students directly. And so your university gives you financial aid at the time they accept you. So it depends on where you're applying. Since I didn't apply at the undergraduate level, so I'll talk about the graduate level, and Devika can say more about the undergraduate level. So for me, my first degree abroad was a master's at Tufts. And so it's quite rare for masters to be fully funded. It happens sometimes, but overwhelmingly universities think that as a way to make money. So most masters are not funded, but some are. So in my case, I got an 80% tuition waiver. So I still had to pay, I think, $5,000 or $6,000, but that's nothing compared to what otherwise you'd expect to spend. And I was given a TA ship to help with my living costs there. So in the masters, it was more restricted. For the PhD, it's, I think, quite standard, at least in North America, to be fully funded. So at the moment I was accepted, I had at least 5 years of financial support from Stanford. And, PhDs are infamous for lasting forever. So, one of my professors took 27 years with his PhD, and he was funded for those 27 years by his university.
Wow. I think that's rare now. I don't think you get funded for 27 years anymore.
I hope not, because it might take me 27 years. But
I hope you should not take that much of time now.
yeah. So, I mean, the point being that for the PhD, you shouldn't have any funding issues in North America. It's not the same in Europe. Sometimes you have to apply for a grant separately from a separate organization, sometimes through the government. So a few years back, I had a PhD offer from Oxford, but they didn't give me a scholarship, so I didn't end up going there. But there, the university said, we don't have money, so you apply through your government. And so the Rhodes Scholarship is one way that people often go to Oxford. And then there are other EU and British scholarships that one could have applied for. But those are much harder to get. Usually you're in better luck just trying to get a scholarship through your university.
Thank you. Mayank, over to you. One would like to know, what all tests as a gateway test one has to prepare for joining universities abroad? I'm talking about the gateway tests.
Right.
Yeah, please.
Definitely. So, there are basically, for undergrad, I think there's different tests. I don't know. But for masters, there's generally GRE is the most common test now. And GRE is preferable for all US MS programs and even in European programs, especially if you're going for like STEM courses. Another exam that is popular is GATE. So that one, sorry, not GATE, what I'm saying, GMAT, and GMAT is particular only for business schools. But nowadays, even business schools have started taking GRE over GMAT. So I gave both exams because when I was applying for business school, I had to give GMAT, and when I was applying for MS, I had to give GRE. But now I would, I advise you to just go with GRE because most business schools have started taking GRE as well. So that's like a superset of all exams now.
Thank you. Well, a financial aid, scholarship, I'm just going step by step. It's like a stepping stone and, taking out the maximum from you all. And now let's go on to the campus placement. Basically, Indian students in Indian universities, they are very much able to get jobs through campus placements. So again, I'd like to ask Debika here that how challenging it is to find a job after you have completed your studies abroad. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this with my case might be slightly different because I had a green card. So getting a job as a citizen, US citizen, versus as someone with green card versus an international student with a visa are three different things. And I think it gets a little harder at every step. I faced some challenges trying to get internships as a green card holder and not a citizen, but I did not have any challenges when I graduated from college. I did go to grad school and pursue a PhD also, but I was set up for going into industry as well and getting a job. If you work hard, if you have a well-rounded resume, Mayank mentioned this before, really build a solid resume, get your right recommendation letters, get your GPA really high, and have the right, statement of purpose, why you want to go somewhere. I don't think it's a challenge unless there's a pandemic or there's a US recession. So if you graduated in 2008 in the US, it was probably hard to find a job. Or right now, it could be difficult depending on which field you pick. But normally, I don't think it's difficult if you are a hard worker.
And all my three students or the three speakers sitting here are very, very hardworking. Mayank, the same, it is actually a panel question. I wanted to keep it as, but I thought let me be specific with Debika. And now I also want to know that do the universities conduct campus placement drive like in Indian universities?
So yeah, universities really try to support you, but it is the process is not exactly same as how it happens in Indian universities. So in my undergrad, which I did in India, they would conduct interviews on campus, like it would be mostly open to the entire batch. We will all sit, and then someone will call like few students will qualify for the next rounds and like that. So it happens everything on the campus. In universities outside India, in both UK and US, what I've seen is schools try to organize big career fairs where they will invite all the companies. Like in career fairs I've attended, there were like more than 200 companies, and they would have like a small stall set up where they will advertise the roles that they're hiring for. So students can go and meet the representative from these companies and ask questions about those roles. But then they have to apply it themselves, like on their company portal, or maybe there's a university portal. So you have to apply for those jobs, and then submit your CVs, and then company will come back to you directly, reach out to you via email if they want to conduct interviews with you. So that's more common here. There are some interviews which might take place on campus here as well, but the most common norm is that you apply separately to companies, and companies get back to you. And university only facilitate these fairs.
Now, if you talk about the benefit or facility part, so Soham, do the government of abroad give any kind of medical insurance facilities to the students, like to their own residents? So this is specifically for you. I will not ask this question to Debika because Debika is a green card holder there. She is, of course, a resident there. So how do you see it? Does the government do any kind of such facility it gives for the students who are coming from outside?
Well, again, it depends on the country. For the US, no. So the medical insurance and health insurance is part of your scholarship or funding package, usually from the university. So in that sense, you do get it and you're supported with health insurance for the length of your stay, but that's through the university. The US government plays no role in it. In other countries, I think in Europe, it's less uncommon. So there, I think in Germany, correct me if I'm wrong, you do get some sort of a health insurance from the government if you're there.
Okay, and one more question is that can the students earn while studying?
Well, for the most part, no. So F1 visas have strict rules about employment. So you can't, have an independent job while you're studying. But there are a few exceptions or loopholes in the rules. So the university can employ you even outside your funding commitments. So for instance, you may be hired by your university's library, for instance, or you may be hired by another professor as an RA, or you may be able to do some administrative stuff on the side. All of that is quite limited because that's still your total commitment, and your total work hours should be less than 20 hours a week. So you can do these other things on the side for a few hours a week, but it's not going to make for a stable income on the side. So that's not something anyone should count on doing when going to the US, at least.
Thank you. The same part of question, Mayank, I'd like to ask you that which are the countries that gives working visas after you have completed your studies?
Okay. Yeah, these are all such brilliant questions. I was asking these questions 5 days before going abroad, and you're asking them for students maybe like 5 years in advance. So it's very different. So when I was pursuing my master's in London, they gave me like 3 months after my program ends, and to find a job. If the company sponsors me, then I can stay. Otherwise, I have to go back. So my work visa was not connected to my study visa in UK. But I think recently they are changing the rules. So I would advise students to go check again. In US, it's a little different. If you are taking a STEM degree, like you're coming for a STEM course, then you get you get out about 3 years with your student visa. So after finishing your program, you get a 1-year work visa, which then you can extend for 2 more years. So you get 3 years of work visa with your STEM degree. And in those 3 years, generally, there are a lot of other opportunities to find a longer term visa, like which is called H-1B. So you have got like those 3 years to apply for the longer term visa, which is lottery based. So if you get selected in that lottery, then your visa can go beyond 3 years, but at least you've got 3 years, which is still good enough, which is still better than a lot of other countries.
So that means on a lighter side, I'll say, yes, you need to have brains, you need to have money, and you need to have charm luck also with you.
That's true.
So the lottery means a luck. All right, now one question for the panel, and I will love my 3 speakers answering all together. The question is that, is it rational to take on significant financial debt to study abroad? Is it rational? I mean, because banks ask for some guarantors and a lot of other things now in Indian banks I'm talking about.
So I took loan for both my education loan for both my masters. Like my time in Germany was funded, but for business school and for my US masters, I had to take education loan. If I had to take loan by putting my house as a mortgage, I wouldn't have come abroad. But that's me. I like, don't just read into this. I came abroad because I find some loan providers which gave me like mortgage-free loan. So if you're going to a very good university, then there are institutions who would support mortgage-free loan because they are kind of confident that you will end up in a good company if you're going to a certain university. So they are open to doing that. I particularly took loan from Prodigy Finance, so you can check that out, which gave me like very low interest rate and then mortgage free loan, and that's why I was able to take that big step of for going that, and then it paid off. Like if you're coming for masters in US, your entire university, especially if you're coming for like a STEM program like computer science or something, then your entire loan can get paid off within like 1 or 2 years. But then again, there are a lot of factors involved in this. Like you need to get selected in like visa and things like that. So be cautious, but try to find out areas where you can get loan either like free of interest or free of mortgage.
Thank you. Anyone else like to answer for this?
Well, I can chip in with a few things. So like I mentioned, for my master's, I was 80% funded, but I still had to arrange for the 20%. So something that a lot of students don't know about, and it's worth keeping an eye out for, is that, well, not only are some institutions giving mortgage-free loans, but they're also giving interest-free loans. And one of these is the Tata Trust, which is what, so they gave me the remaining 6,000-7,000, whatever it was. And there's an application process, they interview you, and if you're selected, you get an interest-free loan. But what's really nice about it is that if they think you've done well afterwards, and that's what they thought I did, they just waived off the loan completely. So I got the loan interest-free, and if I had to pay it back, I wouldn't have to pay interest on it, but then they waived off the loan anyway. So I didn't have to pay anything. So that's something that everyone should keep in mind. Of course, the condition for this is that you have to get into a very, very good school. It's not just anyone can apply for any program. So they have, I think, an unofficial list of schools that they think are good enough. So if you're getting into a top program, make sure you look at these options as well. Apart from this, there's also the INLACS scholarship that is handed out. Again, basically it's a full funding for your studies. So even if you don't get a scholarship from your university, you can apply for it here. Again, they tend to be very selective. They usually get 600-700 applicants, and they usually give maybe 4 or 5 of these grants. But before taking out a loan, make sure at least you've explored these options.
Thank you for your insightful answer, and I'm sure our aspirants will benefit out of this. Uh, Now, I'll go back to another panel question, and I would like to ask you that, and this is not a question for my speakers, but I want my speakers to answer it to our students who have been watching, their heroes sitting in front of them. And the question is, or I want to know that in today's scenario of pandemic, the entire education system has shifted from offline mode to online mode. How this is going to help children to pursue study abroad or in their own country for that?
I can start here. I feel like for this particular topic, this is actually a silver lining. I look at what we're now, right? We're so used to doing Zoom calls. We're now doing things like this, where, I mean, I haven't seen SOHAM or MAYANK in so long, but now we're all connected, you know? So I actually think this might help a lot more people to access international degrees, because it could be completely online. I can see that being a possibility. So if you can't afford to move abroad and pursue a degree, I think online degrees will start having more value. Because we're getting better at delivering education online.
Yes, Mayank, would you like to put some throw some light on this question?
Yeah, completely agree with Debika. Of course, there's this positive that, you know, a lot of people are now connecting because everything has moved virtual, and then now we are thinking, okay, now we are realizing that, you know, all this could have happened virtually. Earlier we were kind of set in molds that we have to go to office to get this job done, or we have to be in the class to get this lecture done. But now we are realizing that actually, you know, now do I even want to go back when pandemic gets over? Because I'm similar, like, you know, exactly the same productive as I was before. So yeah, students should not see it as a hindrance. It's actually, you should be able to get most of what you would have get anyways. And it's not a permanent thing. So don't, like, you know, feel that it's going to, you know, don't opt out of going out abroad just because it's pandemic, because it's just going to get over. And like, yeah, let's just stay positive. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes, Soham, anything you would like to say on this?
Well, I think everything was covered by Debika, and I don't have much to add, except perhaps that, as Debika said, a lot of these programs may just move completely online in the years to come. But when I was talking to my professors recently, there seems to be a stark but an unfortunate difference between the places where things would go online and things where they wouldn't go online. So a lot of the smaller schools in the US who were already struggling with funding and were not able to pay their professors and students as well are now moving online, because then you can have one professor record a lecture once and then just broadcast it to 500 students instead of kind of having to take the same class over and over and over again. But other schools like mine are very resolutely fixed against moving to an online model, because they think that somehow compromises on the experience you would get of being on campus. So it's too early to tell how these things are going to shape over the next few years, but I'm less confident that at least the better schools would start moving their programs online in the years to come. So it's a good thing to be used to Zoom classes and Zoom conferences and so on. But I'm just not sure how it's going to pan out, and whether that's any sort of a model for how education is going to be carried out in the years to come.
Thank you so much. So looks like we have covered all our questions. And anything else you want to cover before we wrap up? Any message you want to give it for any teacher, anyone in the school? Please do so, because this is a platform where we can actually reach out to everyone. Yes, anything that we can, please.
Well, I just want to add that, if you have any more questions for me, please reach out to me on LinkedIn or email. I'm happy to provide it to you. You should be able to find me on LinkedIn. So just tell me you're from Sherwood and just ask any more questions if you ever have. And thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to see all of you. And I just hope that we do it more often, where then I get to, meet students back and meet their teachers. So yeah, it's a great initiative. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we also love to invite you back home to India whenever you come.
Will do.
Yes.
Definitely. Thank you.
Debika, would you like to say something before I wrap up?
Yeah, I'm gonna second Mayank here. If anyone online here today who's watching, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Rashmi ma'am, feel free to give them my email that you have, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm pretty much everywhere online. You should be able to find me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I thank you again for having me. It's just so nice to see people online. I know I saw Principal Ma'am a couple years ago, I think almost 2 years now, when I visited for the first time. I could go on for 20 minutes if I start naming all my teachers, and this might be a somber moment, but all my other teachers know how much I love them.
So all your outlooks were amazing on every question we asked. It was so well appreciated by. I hope our parents and our students have understood, and they will take a complete, it's a complete package for them when it comes to academic, it comes to campus placement, it comes to work, it comes to scholarship, everything. I hope it has got cleared. And now I would like to request our principal ma'am to kindly give away the certificate of appreciation to our speakers.
Yeah, thank you, Rashmi, and thank you all of you. It was really such a wonderful session, and I'm sure all the students who are listening to you today would have really benefited from it. And the best part was that you all spoke with such clarity. It took me back to the classroom, I was remembering that I've taught Debika, I've taught Mayank. Really felt happy listening to all of you. Okay, that will be sent to you after signing your email.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayank, for your time and sharing your journey with us. And to you, I present the C certificate for guiding the students on how to study and work abroad.
Okay.
It's been a wonderful session, I must say. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Soham, for your time and your great contribution to this webinar. I present you with this e-certificate for guiding the students on being goal-oriented and also telling them how to get admissions abroad. Thank you, Soham.
Thank you.
And now I would be failing in my duty if I do not congratulate and thank all the teachers for their wonderful contribution to this session. You don't know, I mean, it's been like there's a WhatsApp group and everybody has been going to and fro, talking about how to reach out to all of you. Everybody contacted all the alumni of the school, and they got your testimonials, putting them up on the website, the Facebook, and on Instagram. I'm sure you would have seen it by now. And then all the planning preparations, what it takes to prepare everything. So to begin with, I would like to thank Rashmi ma'am. She's been working on this day and night, and today she took it through so well. And yeah, and then I would like to mention Renu Ghosh ma'am, Sapna ma'am, Rumi ma'am, Jyotika ma'am, Neeru ma'am, Nidhi ma'am. Some of you all don't know because they have not been there. Charu ma'am and Anita Chetri ma'am. They've all worked to make this a success. I'm sure children would appreciate, how well this has been put together for all of them, because this is for their understanding and their knowledge of, your journey through school, through your college, and where you have reached today. So thank you all, and back to Rashmi.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
much. I will say that all in the alumni testimonials, what we are doing right now, we want our alumni to be connected with us forever. We don't want this
Yes.
we don't want to lose this connection. It is not only for one webinar or we are just meeting for the first time. I think this association should go on, and very soon we want Sherwood to organize alumni meet, and we want to call you back, and wherever, in whichever part of world you all are, I think you all should come back to
We would love that.
Yes. So thank you, Ms. Debika, Mr. Mayank, Mr. Soham, our parents, students, and everyone for attending today's webinar on Campus to Career. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a feedback survey on the presentation, and we would appreciate if you complete and provide us your feedback. On behalf of Sherwood Convent School, Principal Ma'am, our presenters, thank you for joining us for today. Have a lovely, beautiful Sunday ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All the best, everyone. Thank you for being there.
Thank you, ma'am.